For some analysis, let's bring in academic and Middle East expert Edmund Ghareeb. Edmund, great having you.
Thank you.
Could you give me a sense of what's changed in Hamas's approach to a ceasefire?
Well, Hamas has clearly shifted from outright rejection to conditional engagement. It has, for example, accepted or submitted what even President Trump said he heard from, although he said he didn't see it yet, but he said that he heard from U.S. officials and from others that there was a positive response to the latest U.S.-backed ceasefire. So that would be one thing. Another thing is that Hamas has accepted, and to a large extent, the broad framework of a 60-day truce, but it demands amendments. I mean, notably, basically, that about the phased release of hostages over the ceasefire, basically, that within the 60 days. But at the same time, they are demanding that there should be a permanent ceasefire, not just a temporary ceasefire. And that's one of the things. The other demand that they are making also is that Israel must pull back from Gaza. That's something, at least up until now, the Israelis have not been willing to do. That they might withdraw from certain areas, but they want to stay within Gaza. But there is something else that I think is very, very interesting that some analysts in the region and even here are beginning to mention, and that is the results of the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, and then, of course, the U.S. attack on the nuclear facilities in Iran. For the first time, I think the invincibility of Israel, there are questions about it, because the Israelis apparently also, yes, they infiltrated, they assassinated a large number of nuclear scientists, of military leaders, some political leaders. There was a lot of destruction of some of the facilities, oil and otherwise, but Israel itself was hit very hard. And that is something unprecedented since the 1948 war.
At the same time, President Trump has welcomed the talks, but seems to not be fully committed with his country's support for mediation. What's behind this hesitation?
Actually, that's a very good point, a good question, and but my interpretation of it is that in part it may have something to do with the way he deals. He wants to make deals. He wants to leave some strategic ambiguity. If things don't work out, he doesn't want to appear as if he has failed. So far, there's already a lot of criticism saying that you had promised during the elections and during the campaign that you would end the wars. You would end the war in Gaza, the Middle East. You would end the war in the Ukraine. But so far, he hasn't done either. So basically, this is very important to him, and I think he also dreams of getting a Nobel Peace Prize, and so he does not want to make it appear or show it as if he has tried and he has failed. He has not been able to achieve the peace goals that he wanted.
But Edmund, at the same time, right, this behavior from the U.S. puts a heavier load on Egypt and Qatar, the facilitators of a potential ceasefire. How does that look?
Well, actually that's a very good point. But Egypt and Qatar have been very important negotiators, players in this. They want to see an end to this war. They want to see a quick end. The massacres that have been taking place in Gaza and in the West Bank as well, but nothing compared to what we've seen in Gaza. The escalation that the Israelis are continuing daily, 100 people or more or a little less are getting killed. And they are people, civilians mainly, children, and that puts a lot of pressure on the governments of the Arab world, because there's a lot of criticism, popular criticism, that the Arab governments have not done enough. But Egypt and Qatar are trying to reach an agreement that would at least give something to both sides. Basically, they want something to end the massacres in Gaza and the withdrawal of the Israeli forces from Gaza. And that's why I think they are continuing to push to see an end to this fight, this war, the conflict that's taking place now.
Edmund Ghareeb, thank you for your insights.